rebuilt this turbo kit 7 times. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 12 times, I'm not sure, but I think that this is the final rendition of the twin turbo kit in this Nova that we will race with, and all will be right with the world. I just wanted to make this video for you guys because a lot of folks have been asking, where's the long form video? Where's the long form video? And honestly, there's been a number of things that have kept us from making long form videos. One of them being my health, which we'll talk about and discuss in a little bit. And then the other part of it is that I just want to get the work done. Anybody who's ever made a video knows that if you try to work on a video, it takes at least twice as long to get the work done than it would if you just did the work and then made a video. So that's kind of the approach we're taking now. Right now, we have got inside this Nova chassis. I don't know at what point we left off in the last video. I think we showed that I did the tubular K member. We've got rack and pinion. We've got TRZ upper and lower control arms. We've got billet spindles. We've got Wilwood disc brakes. I've installed the Wilwood master cylinder. So bleeding brakes is still on the list, but we've saved a whole bunch of weight off the front end. And then it came time to build the twin turbo kit for this. And how did we get to twin turbo kit? Let's start there. We got there because the gold car is currently running. Not saying it's doing a whole lot of great things, but it is running. It did make it pass down the track. And right now we've got it stored in my new trailer. And if I wanted to, I could go racing, which is huge. It's important for me because a lot of you guys know I haven't been going racing. Big part of that has been my health. And for those of you guys that don't know, I went to the hospital, a year and a half ago, probably more now. And I had real bad infection. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. And what really it came down to is that there was a surgery that I needed to have. Well, the doctors would not perform this surgery until I went through a year's worth of infusions for Crohn's disease, which we still don't know whether or not I have. There's a whole bunch of factors there. So I got the surgery, that got infected, went back in the hospital for antibiotics, did that whole thing. But now that I've finally gotten it, I can be a lot more active. Still not 100%, I'm still not where I need to be, but what was holding me back was knowing that I could only be so active, and every bit of work that I did, I paid for on the back end 2 or 3 times in the amount of rest that it took to recover. So now that I feel a little better, we started getting back to work on this project. And since we got the Nova running and all together, I said what I'd really like to do is complete this, make this run and drive without stealing parts from the gold car. So this way we always have the gold car to go take out and do hood rat stuff if we want to. If we want to go screw around, do a little racing, have a little fun. And that's really what it's about, is just fun. It's there and ready. So I was like, if we're not going to take parts off the gold car, I do have 2 turbos that we can build a twin turbo kit. So we started cutting, hacking, doing everything. And then somewhere along the lines, I realized that the setup that I had and planned for, which was an air-to-air intercooler up front, that wasn't going to work with our radiator setup. And I really didn't want to do a radiator in the back. The big thing here is use parts we have laying around, buy as little as possible, and get it running as quickly as possible. Because as much as I would love to make this car everything in the world I've ever dreamed of and everything I want it to be, I think it's more important to just get it running. They talk about that, them, roadkill guys. Don't get it right, get it running. That's what we're trying to do here. No matter what, we're going to be in a better position because this thing is going to be 300, 400, 500 pounds, 600 pounds lighter than the gold car with a similar power plant that can, produce similar power. So we realized the air-to-air wasn't going to work up here with the radiator up here the way that I wanted it. And then we're like, okay, well, we'll do something else. We'll go no radiator or no intercooler and see what that looks like. And then I was like, well, if we're doing all this, I'd really like to have a hood back on the car. And I haven't had a hood on a car in a very long time. So we started prepping and planning for that. And we were like, well, it's the spiral. It goes out of control. You know what I mean? If you give a mouse a piece of cheese, he'll come back or some shit. I don't know what that's saying. But it spiraled out of control. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do all this work and I'm going to keep it under the hood and everything else, well, we might as well put the turbos where I want. And then my man from Mississippi showed me the Mississippi 2-step turbo kit and how that works. And it's essentially routing all this back into here. So now you can see we've got twin turbos, pretty close to the firewall. You know, the whole system is not perfect, and right now most of it is half welded because I was just going through the fitment of it all to make sure all the fitment would work. But we're gonna have twin turbos back behind the front tire, close to the firewall, which is what I wanted from the start. And we are going to have a 3-inch air-to-water intercooler. I decided to go back with another air-to-water intercooler. Why would I do that versus 85 non-intercooled? When we melted the engine, that was, now that I look back on it, purely a result of we flung the water pump belt. And when we flung the water pump belt, it was just too hot. That's how we burned up a cylinder and a head and everything else. Like, it just couldn't live up to that kind of heat. So I was like, we could do non-intercooled. If we do methanol, we're either gonna need to go to a really big injector or do 16 injectors. And I just don't feel like screwing with it. You know, last time we took the gold car out, we were actually going to switch over to C16 because buddy Jeff Dean has talked about how awesome C16 is and what some of the benefits are and blah, 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 blah. So we were looking at that. So I was like, you know what, let's just go intercooled. We can do either E85 or C16, depending on, you know, what I feel like that day and, you know, how much I want to try things and learn things and that kind of stuff. So this system here is going to work really well for that. Obviously, you know, you guys see this pipe is just laying here because none of this is done up yet. We are going to put some tabs on here to kind of hold the weight of the turbo. Everybody said the gold car would never hold the weight of that turbo, and that thing has two-stepped and shook. We don't got a single problem out of that really terrible turbo kit that I made. But we'll go ahead, we'll put some mounts here, you know, probably just a tab over here that bolts into this bar. Probably somewhere back here would be best. I kind of hold the weight of the turbos so we don't really have any issue with that. You know, we got the long travel kit. All this stuff is out of the way of that. This obviously will change at some point. I had considered taking the intake and doing 180 degrees and going back. We may still do that, but I will have to cut up the firewall and there's a bunch of stuff. Or we might just leave it with some kind of setup here like this, and then we'll, you know, go into here, but it's got to be raised up the 3 inches. So I did the other day measure. We're going with my OG yellow banana hammock hood that I love. I love that thing. And that thing leaves us enough space underneath here that even with the 3-inch intercooler and even with the throttle body right side up, it still fits. I don't have to flip that, nothing. It's all gonna fit under the hood. And I'm pretty pumped about that because it'll be the first time I've had a hood on a car in a long time. So we've got that going. There's a couple other parts and pieces that we have here now that I do need to get installed. I'll show you guys this. These are water pump adapters from Proform Parts. So we've got a Proform Parts radiator on here. This is one of their slim lines. So it's like, this one I think is just a little over 4 inches complete. Yeah, so this is like 4.5 inches. I've had great luck with all of the Proform radiators that I've ever used. They all say online that they're rated to like 700 horsepower or 800 horsepower. I know for a fact we've put more horsepower. We've never had an issue, you know, with the radiator in any sort of way. The only issues we've had have been self-inflicted. Like if you pressurize the cooling system, that's your own fault. That's not the radiator's fault. So we've got the Proform radiator with their fan. It's got a speed controller on here. Should work really, really well. We don't need a ton of cooling, you know, if we do 85, but C16 we will. Plus, I just always like to have that option. You never know what's gonna happen. I can't tell you how many times I've started the car behind the burnout box and then you wait, and then you wait, or you pull up into the water box and then you wait, and then you wait. And before you know it, 15 minutes has gone by. We're not even sure why. Nobody even knows why we haven't made the pass yet. So, right? Am I lying?
You're wrong. You're 100% right.
So it's always nice to have. So then we also got these water pump adapter plates. And what's cool about these is that they allow you to use a big block Chevy water pump. So that's not abnormal. You know, other folks do that. What I do like about these though is that the water pump. So somewhere on here, there you go. You see the water pump mounts like that, and you're like, well, Matt, what about those top holes? Well, these are 12 ORBs, so we can actually run 12 ORB, 12 AN hose out of each of these. And then I just ordered, I'm not sure how we're gonna do it yet. I ordered a Y, obviously. And then I ordered a female 16 AN port. We might just go straight from the Y into that. I also have male 16 ANs, and then we've got couplers. We'll see how it works, but this should be pretty cool. And then it's also nice because it's a big block Chevy electric water pump, which if you're ever at a racetrack, should be the easiest thing in the world to find. Like, there should be these laying behind the dumpster somewhere. Like, everybody's got one of these. So I'm pretty pumped about that. We'll get all that on. And then accessory-wise, I've been working with the folks over at E3 Spark Plugs. They've got a full line of lithium batteries, and I've never properly sized a battery to my application before. I guess I'm flies.
Infested with flies today for some reason.
Probably get some asshole left some pizza over there.
I didn't I? I'm so sorry. I completely forgot.
But anyways, I've been working with the folks over at E3. They've got a full line of lithium batteries, and I've never properly sized an electrical system, like a battery, to what the race car needs and everything are. So I've been working with them to do all the math on it. And even still, you know, I did this whole thing and we got really close, and the guy was like, you've done a great job. You've done more work than 90% of people, but this is just for the car to make a pass. But what about starting it? And I was like, So there's some more math, and I'm learning a lot about that kind of stuff, which is cool too. I'm really thankful to the guys at E3 are, you know, it's one thing, like, if you're gonna spend your money somewhere, but like somebody who will take that amount of time to go over all this information, you know, even teach, hey, this is the question I have about this is the question I have about amp hours, this is what I think this all means. And, you know, they're going back and forth and giving me the good information on that. So we'll get that figured out. That will also determine which alternator we use, because their lithium batteries, don't quote me on this, I want to say it's 160 amp max is what can go back into their lithium batteries. It might be 140, it's somewhere around there. And so the one that I have on the gold car isn't going to work because that's like a 220 amp alternator. So that'll determine what size alternator we use. It'll probably end up being a Pro Form, and because I'm motor plating and everything, I don't have to worry about using an LS, you know, with specific accessory drive, because we've got an electric water pump. The only thing that will be running off of the accessory drive is going to be the alternator, and we plan to, if we can, size the battery big enough that it could make the pass without, even if the alternator was broke. Like, alternator craps out, we can still make the pass because we've sized the battery properly. So we've got that going on. We've also got, in this box here, we've got our fluid damper. Obviously, I've been working with these guys a long time. You know, your engine dampener is a super important piece of the puzzle, because, you know, folks that know that I have used many factory crank dampeners, and usually, like, the rubber is kind of missing out of some of them sometimes, and they're not always right. And, you know, engine harmonics and vibrations matter. And with this engine, which is like the most expensive engine I've personally ever put together, Texas speed, ruthless front, rod and piston, you know, ported heads, trunnion kit, Johnson lifters, like, I did dumb things, but I want to make sure that we're protecting our investment and obviously not allowing any of the engine harmonics to have any kind of negative issue or negative experience with our racing system. So we're doing pretty good, man. We got a lot of this lined out. I have a Holley HP to go in here. It's still 400 trans converter. We're just gonna send it with what's in it, and we'll figure that out when that time comes. But yeah, I've got fuel. Well, I don't have full fuel system. I got my Snake Eater injectors, the Pro Series, but I need a pump and filters and all that. But that's another thing I'm researching, because I want to make sure I size properly. Everything that I've done for a long time has just been, what can I buy secondhand used? And I'm not really in the position to be big balling out, but I've taken this long to put all this together, a little more time stacking some money up, which is also a hell of a lot easier when you're not traveling the country every weekend trying to race. So that's been helpful to the situation. But yeah, we got that. We got the hood to go on it. I don't know, am I missing anything? I mean, obviously, still need to do alignment. I mean, there's definitely 40, 50, 60 hours worth of work, because we don't even have the Holley in here yet. I've got none of that wiring done. We're getting really close. So, you know, a lot of folks have been asking for, where's the long form video? And I don't necessarily know that this is what they meant and what they wanted, but this is what you got. I got a Canada Dry Boot Splash. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Oh, and the turbos, right now, those are S366s. We're gonna be taking those turbos with us the next time we go to stainless diesel. And we're gonna be doing a couple things. We're gonna do a video on what happens when you wanna upgrade your turbo, because they offer a service where you can send in your turbo and they will upgrade it, you know, kind of any way you want. So we'll be doing a video with them on upgrading those turbos, taking them apart, rebuilding it, which will also have the information inside of it of how do you replace the bearing cartridge and all, like, how do you do all that stuff? Well, we'll go into it. So right now there's S366s. I'm hoping that we can end up at like an S372 with probably the same turbine size and everything. This worked before on a 5.3 setup. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. But yeah, we'll do that, and then, I mean, really, it's getting pretty close. I ordered turbo feed lines. I've been ordering full here lately. I also ordered a bunch of piping that I needed to finish this, that I sent to an Airbnb in North Carolina. So whoever got that, you're welcome. Had to reorder all that again, but that's what we got going on. What's going on in the future? I have no clue. Here's a couple things that I know for sure. My company, Marcosm, which is a marketing, it's technically an advertising agency, but it's a marketing agency. We're doing great. We're doing work with a bunch of great clients, and we will continue to be doing that throughout, you know, the rest of the year and as long as we possibly can, so we can continue to feed our families. But we will be definitely going to all the Outlaw Diesel Super Series races. So they do a Friday night little radial shootout, which, fun fact, I happened to meet some good folks at Mickey Thompson one day and told them about this. And I was like, I've never tried a radial. And they were like, what, do you want to? I was like, sure. So we talked to them, and I have to buy tires anyway. So it's a lot easier when you go directly to the manufacturer, and, you know, they can help you out a little bit. So we've got a couple different sets of radials to try on this car, which I'm looking forward to. So we'll be at all the ODSS races, maybe with a car, maybe without, but try to bring a car to as many of them as we can to do that radial thing. And then we will definitely be at LS Fest. Now, my plan and my hope and my goal is that this car is complete, finished, race ready, hopefully shaken down a bit, because I mean, that's September. Yeah, we got enough time to shake it down a bit and everything, and have this thing at LS Fest. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the Hot Shot Secret booth this year. As it turns out, I know a guy, so maybe it will. We'll have it there, and we'll enter one of the shootouts, whatever it is, doesn't really matter, but with the only goal of improving our time from last year. So last year we took the gold car out and we went, what, 585? I think this car should go 585 without even really trying, based on 4-link, whole suspension setup, power plant, weight, all that kind of stuff. But we will definitely be at LS Fest. And then I'm not really sure. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I really enjoyed going to that, what was it, Lights Out? Yep, Lights Out. You know, those kind of races where you can be there for 3-4 days and you can get a couple rounds of qualifying in and that kind of stuff. Can we turn this thing down enough to run 6.0? Maybe on Wastegate, you know? I don't know. So maybe we'll do that. Who knows? But I really don't have any plans for the future. I'm not chasing any big, crazy goals. I'm not really chasing big YouTube, you know, huge growth of the channel and everything else and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, because it's just stressful, you know what I mean? So why do that? I want to do this stuff because I enjoy it, and I'd like to take you guys along for the ride. I think that's the most fair assessment we can make of what the future of my channel looks like. There's also some other stuff. I bought other cars, there's other projects, there's other shit you guys haven't seen yet. That's what I got going on. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Look, I appreciate everybody, you know, leaving love and in the comments, and even the people that hate the short form content. Sorry about your luck, but you know, if that's what I can do at that moment and keep you guys updated in the loop, then that's what is going to happen. So really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to running this car, especially now that you can't even get these engines anymore. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yep.
No more ruthless runts, huh?
You can't get a ruthless run from Texas Speed, at least right now. Maybe it'll come back or something, but yeah, I don't know that it was supposed to be a limited run or what, but like, it's a limited run, and we've got one of them. And we've got another complete engine that's healthy, working great. You know, I don't really see that there's any issues with that other one. So we've got a gold car. We still have a big block. The big block that came out of this is just collecting dust. I may sell it. I may hold on to it for a while. I don't know. I haven't really decided yet. But what I do know is that I want to go to LS Fest. You know, Hot Shots is already scheduled, so my work part of it is already scheduled. My personal part of it, I would like to have this car there at LS Fest. And I can't do that with a big block in it. They won't let me race. So, yeah, I don't know. Brandon, you want to hit him with like some sexy shots? And
That's pretty cool.